Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to create our socket server. So let's add a new package and call it the socket. And then within that, we'll create another package, call it server. So in this one, we're going to have a socket server, and the other class is going to be an interface, which we will name it SocketServer Listener. So what does this SocketServer Listener do? It's going to have three functions. First one, on SocketServer new message, which will have a message instance of type message model, which I'll add in a second. The next one is going to be on start server, which will have a port of type int. And then the last one is going to be on client disconnected. So let's add this message model class. I'll simply copy and paste it inside my util package, just like that. So we'll have a message type and a data. Pretty straightforward. Let's import it here. So right now it's time for our socket server class. It's going to be injectable using builds. We'll add the constructor to it. It will inject the JSON object. And then inside the class, we'll have a reference of socket server of type web socket server. Is going to be nullable and null initial. You'll have another variable called socket server port, which is going to be 13 initially. So let's have the init function and have the listener of type socket server listener, and then the body of our init function. First, we'll check if socket server is equal to null, then we want to continue. We'll initialize our socket server anonymously like this, WebSocket, and for the address, we'll add inet socket address. For the address, we'll simply pass the port to it. So let's implement the members just like that. Remove all of these to-dos. So on open, actually this function is when a member or a client is being connected. So we will have a reference to the client. So using this WebSocket object, we will get access to send data to our client. So let's create a global variable inside our socket server and call it socket or member to call, or something like that. It's going to be a WebSocket object and it's going to be null initial. Right here, we want to check if member to call is null, which means no one is connected yet. So we want to store this connection. Simple as that. And down here, side onClose function, we'll check if connection is equal to our member to call, which means if our member is being disconnected, we want to set the member to call to null and then use the callback and say, hey, our client is being disconnected. And inside the onMessage, we want to use the run catching, not this one, and get the JSON object. From JSON, pass a message to it, and get the message model as the final object. And if it's success, we want to pass it to on socket server message, give it or whatever you name it here. Inside on error, we want to check if ex.message is equal to address is already in use. Sometimes when you restart your application, the application is not able to close the previous one, so we have to increase the port number, which is 3013, and then start the server again. So we will socket server port, we will plus this one, and call the onDestroy function, which I'll write in a second, and recursively call this init function again. So let's go down below and create, it's not private, it's public. So onDestroy is going to actually use run catching and then tries to stop the server and make the server null, just like that. Let's go up here. Yeah, we'll destroy it and recall it again. And inside the onStart function, we will simply just call the listener onStart server and pass the current socket server port. So the higher class that is going to use this class is going to know which one is the socket port at the moment. And we will have another function, which is going to be the last function. Sends data to client. Simple as that. It's going to get a data model or message model of type message model. Simply use run caching. If member to call is not null, we will use the JSON model, get the JSON and convert it to JSON object, pass the message model to it, and then use it, or let's rename it to member, then send JSON model. Simple as that. So if you have a question that where are we going to use it, we have to create our packages of view models. So let's create our host view model. It's going to be annotated as health view model. It's going to be injectable, and at the constructor, we will add the application to it, and then we will have the socket server object of type socket server. Simple as that. Inside this view model, we will have the init function again. It's going to have a listener of type boolean to check if successfully host is started or not. So I have prepared a function to get the IP address of the user inside the network that host and client is being connected together. So let's actually copy and paste this extensions class here, and using this get Wi-Fi IP address, we are able to get our local IP address and give it to the other client to let them connect together. So let's go back to our host view model, and we want to have our IP address at the beginning. So let's create the variable called IP address. It's going to be string and null initially. Let's add this section to it, socket variable. So right here, we want to use IP address is equal to get Wi-Fi IP address. We'll pass application to it. Check if IP address is none. We want to give false to it and then return. We don't want to continue. But if it doesn't, let's start our socket server just like that. Down here, we will have the private function called start socket server, and then we will initialize the socket server like this. So we have to let our host view model implement those three listeners functions, just like that. Also, I forgot to extend this host view model from view model class, and whenever unclear is being called, I want to use my socket server and call the onDestroy to close the socket server. So to check this socket server, we want to use this host view model inside our host screen actually. So let's copy and paste our host screen as well. We want to have our host view model. Let's remove the extra stuff here. We want to have these composables, surface view renders composable, and other composable. So let's copy and paste these components folder inside our UI package. So it's a control layouts button, which we will come back later. It's a layout that is going to actually control our video track and audio track and switching cameras or other stuff. For now, we will just copy and paste it. Let's implement them here inside my host screen. I actually want to comment these lines that are not working at the moment. I just want to test my socket server, but we want to actually see this host address. So let's add this host address state inside my view model. Let's go to our host view model, add a section called states, and then add this host address here. So inside this onStart server override, we want to use viewModel scope and launch a block and use the host address and emit a new value to it. So we will know that the host address is equal to IP address and use the ports. So this is our host address. Let's go back to our host screen, and yeah, we have this host address state here inside our host screen. So before running the app, do not forget to add this Android entry point. Let's launch it. Go to host. So I still do not see this text up here. Let's check what's wrong here. And the error is because we forgot to start our socket server. So I'll add an apply block here and just simply press start. Let's run our application again. Yeah, as you can see, we have our address here, 10.0.2.16.30.13. So our socket server is working pretty much fine. So let's create our client socket here and get prepared to connect this host and client together and start the WebRTC process. To do that, first let's close other extra classes here and then go to our socket and create another package called client. Inside our package clients, we will have exact same as remote. The first class that I'm going to introduce is socket client listener, which is going to have two functions this time: on socket client open and then on socket client message, which will have the message model as the input. So let's go to our client directory and add another class called SocketClient. So let's go to our client directory and add another class named SocketClient. Let's see what we have inside this class. This class is going to be injectable, and we will have the constructor here. We will have the JSON objects, and then we will have the init function. Inside this init function, we will get the socket address of type string, the listener of socket client listener, and on error, which is a callback of type none. So inside here, we will have the access to a global variable inside this class named WebSocket, and it's going to be outside WebSocketClient, and it's going to be null initial. So here we will instantiate this WebSocket object like this anonymously. It's going to be a WebSocketClient, and it's going to have a URI and named ws//socket address. Let's import the URI of java.net and then open the brackets and then implement the members. So again, inside the unopen, we simply want to call the listener on socket opened. Inside the message, we want to run catchy, and then using JSON, and from JSON function, we will pass a message to the screen, then get the message model. Class has the blueprints to it, and if it was success, we simply want to call the listener.onSocketClient message and pass it to it. Inside the onClose, we do nothing, but inside the onError, we simply want to invoke the onError callback. And down below, before we forget, we want to use that WebSocket here and connect. We do not do the same mistake again. So here we will have two functions inside this class. The first one is onDestroy, which will use the run catching and tries to close this client. Close, not the close block. And the next function is going to be send data to host, which will get a message of type message model. Simply uses the run catching, checks the WebSocket if it's available, sends the JSON to JSON version of this message, and that's pretty much it for our socket client. So again, how to use it? We have to go to our view models and create our client's view model, which will annotate it as its view model. Also make it injectable and add constructor to it. We want to extend from view model class, and then inside our client's view model, we will first have the application and then the socket client of type socket client. So here we will have the init function, which will get the server address of type string and the onError, the famous onErrors, which is being called within our SocketClient class to check if this socket client is not working. So we have to close our client's UI client script. Let's call a function start socket client and pass the server address and onError to it. Let's create this function, simple as that, and we simply want to use the socket client reference using our constructor of the class and call it init and give the server and onError to it. So it says that, hey, we require socket client listener, but we receive the onError. So for this one, we want to add listeners. So right now, to check if this socket is being opened, we want to add a log to it. Just simple as that. To do that, I have to run two evaluators. Let's check if this client view model is being connected to the address that we are giving from our host view model. So how to use this client view model? We actually have to use it inside our client screen, which I'll add the code inside here. I'll just copy and paste it and comment the parts that we are not going to use for now. Just like that. Then you fix this one. We don't want this state for now. We want the surface view. We don't want its listener. Same goes for here. And also, I don't want this control layouts for now. So we are good for now. Let's run it inside the new evaluator and check if this client is being connected to the host. So I'm using my cell phone as the host. If I press the host, you will see the address of the local network is being shown here. And if I open the log and also paste the address of my cell phone here, the port is going to be 3014. If I press connect, we will see that onSocket client opened is working. So successfully, our client is being connected to the host. So right now we are good to go as the socket server and the client. So our client and server is ready to connect to each other and transfer the data to each other and to start creating a new session of peer connection and start a video call. That's it for this video. On the next video, we will learn how to start transferring data signals between each other and start the video call. So till the next video, see you everyone.